So let's make some selections as Wales go for the Grand Slam in this fifth and final-ish round of the Six Nations 2021. Hi guys, welcome back. Now I say ish because of course there is that France-Scotland game to play the week after. But anyway, Wales have the opportunity to wrap the whole thing up against France, but it's in France. Now let's have a look at the team straight away. And for my selection, I think it's easy. It's the same team as against Italy. I just can't see any reason to change it. Please comment below if you do. The forwards pretty much pick themselves, and that's been a real positive for Wales. They've managed to pick a consistent pack. They managed to get Navidi back fit. It's just a question really of who partners Alun Wyn Jones in the second row, but the rest of them have been going absolutely fantastically well. Owens, Wyn Jones, Francis there, and the back row, Navidi, Tipuric, Faletau. It really is the perfect balance. You've got your strong man in Navidi, really good over the ball, your extreme pace of Tipuric, and then your all-round ability of Faletau. Excellent back row. Up against an excellent back row in France, of course. You know, all the likes of Olivon, Aldrit. I mean, how's it going to compare? It's absolutely fascinating. The backs has been a little bit more tricky for Wales in this tournament. Nines have jumped around a bit, largely due to injury. They wanted to play Thomas Williams as their first choice 9. If he's fit, maybe he'll go on the bench. Hardy then was in his second choice. And poor Gareth Davies, he was the third choice. Now, Gareth Davies has made some errors in the past. He's not perfect, but what he's got is lots of physical ability. He's very quick. He's very dangerous. So if he gets it right, he can be excellent. So he gets the start again. Bigger at 10 had a really good showing against Italy, and the combination seems to be working where he starts the game, incredibly reliable, solid, good goal kicking, and Sheedy comes on for quite a lot of the game actually and injects some pace into the game. Kind of like what we saw where he scored his try against Italy. In the centres, they seem to have settled on Jonathan Davies at 12. This is something that I had, guessed they might do or they should do in the preview show. Move Davies into 12. Now maybe he's getting a bit older. And I think it's fair to say he is a bit slower than he used to be. I don't know if it's coming back from his injury or not. But he's been doing very well. He's not like he's done anything wrong. He just hasn't set the world alight. The guy who has been setting the world alight is George North. If he can do this against France and come out looking really good again, maybe even player of the tournament, George North, certainly, very close to Lion selections, if not on the plane already. In the backs, the back three, nice and easy. Adams, Reece Zammit and Liam Williams. Incredibly dangerous. Can't take your eyes off these guys for a minute. And then just looking through the bench, I've mentioned Sheedy, but Halaholo has been coming on and creating an impact. He's been getting plenty of game time, so they seem to be set on him as their impact sub off the bench as well in the backs. So that's my Welsh team. Let me know if you would differ anywhere and how you would change it, if at all. And just let me know what you think of the game, Welsh fans. Are you confident? Do you think you're going to win? I mean, just remember my previous video, I went through the permutations. One thing I would have added on potentially in hindsight is Wales can win the Six Nations by losing that match. If they get 2 bonus points in that match for 4 tries or more, or being within 7 and losing, they'd win the Six Nations even losing. So they can lose, they can draw, and they can win and win the Six Nations. Of course they want the Grand Slam. But in the back of Alun Wyn Jones's mind, he also has to think about bonus points if it's looking like maybe they're losing. For France, nothing but a big win. Anyway, look back on my previous video as I go through all the permutations there. Let's just bring up the other teams here. Into Ireland versus England. They can't win the championship, but there's plenty of pride on the line. They don't want to finish near the bottom of the table. Fifth is really what they're trying to avoid here. Italy looking like they're picking up the wooden spoon again, of course. Tough job for England. Let's have a look at the England team. Front row, Mako, Cowan-Dickie and Sinclair. I think Cowan-Dickie should retain. I wonder if Eddie Jones will bring back Jamie George. But I think Cowan-Dickie's been doing really well. He's made a few mistakes against the French, but just speed around the park, his aggression is just a slightly different level to Jamie George, who's a very competent hooker at his best. So it depends what he goes for there. I wonder if he goes back to George. I hope he stays Cowan-Dickie. With Mako, what I was worried about at the beginning of the tournament was his Achilles injury and coming back from that. And he was icing it a couple of games ago, and someone in the comments, an eagle-eyed viewer, had said that he was icing it again. And I don't like that, because with Achilles injuries, you can't just play through them and they go away. You have to get them sorted. So that's a bit of a worry. It hasn't been going great for Genge, hence why I've got Urbano on the bench. I think you might as well play Urbano. I can't see the point not. But Eddie Jones is very loyal, as we know, and he likes Genge. He wants to get him success, so I imagine he will be on the bench, or even starting if Mako's Achilles isn't great. Sinclair's been playing well, as has Stewart off the bench. That tight head spot has been a strength area for England. In the second row, Itoje had a great game last game, as we know. Who partners Itoje? Well, it really has to be Jules again, based on his performance against France. Really, really tidy, did all the nuts and bolts and let Itoje play. To be fair to Eddie Jones, exactly what he said he wanted out of Jules. Thing is, though, if he's not perfect, is he doing those special things athletically? Probably not. But at the moment, I think it's the best combo. Back row's tough. Wilson worked really hard, gave his all. He's definitely slower than he used to be. I remember him when he toured Argentina and he was incredibly athletic. He's quite a long way off that, but I don't think you can start Earl just because the combination, you have to move Curry out of 7 where he's been going well. Plus, Earl actually hasn't been doing that great coming off the bench. I thought he'd do better. So really, I think you stay with Wilson, Curry and Billy V. Billy's played well against France. Many of you making the observation that he's not quite having that huge impact in his carries that he used to, although still very handy. And of course, there is no alternative in the squad. And we won't talk about Sam Simmonds again, just mention he's amazing. Anyway, whatever. Into the packs, nothing we can do there. Young's played really well against France. Absolutely. Definitely going to say it. Praise him when praise is due. The problem is he had some poor games before that, and you have to have consistency. You can't just have one good game every now and then and say, I prove the critics wrong, because the critics will say you were poor when you were poor and they'll say you were good when you were good. So that phrase never really rings true, proving the critics wrong. It just means you can play well sometimes. Anyway, he needs to have another good one. Ford has been very solid, very good. And in the midfield, Farrell's been playing well. Apart from that first game, individually, he's played well. You know my problem with the midfield is the balance is all out. There's no power. However, Slade, again, who individually has been playing pretty well, he's got an injury. He may well not play anyway. Plus, I think what's the point in having Lawrence and Odogwu in the squad if you're not going to get them the start and get them the opportunity? England aren't going to win the Six Nations, so you might as well. So, Lawrence to start, Odogwu on the bench. Malins in the back three, I hope they keep him at fullback. He did make a few errors against France, but you also saw his quality coming through. I really hope Eddie Jones sticks with him and doesn't go back to his favourite of Daly. We will see there. Interesting. Obviously, Watson and May on the bench, so on the wings, because they're kind of the only two wingers there. Then on the bench, pretty much as is, I've just swapped to Barno for Genge. Earl probably needs a big game off the bench, you know. The call where he was pinged at the end of the France game was the correct call. I think Eddie Jones was thought there was undue influence on the ref. I don't know. It was the correct call. And Odogwu, please, let's get Odogwu on the bench. Come on, get him his cap. Make sure Italy don't steal him for one thing. Plus, I do think he has a lot to offer. So let me know what you think of my team there for England. So the Irish team against England, I'm putting Kelleher at hooker. Nothing against Herring. He's been very solid, and I'm pretty sure Farrell will play Herring, actually. But what's the point in not playing Kelleher? He's the future, not Herring. The championship is gone. Get him game time. I think they'll be missing a trick not to play him, but I don't think they will. That tight head Furlong, I think, continues. Certainly his side steps have gone a bit viral. They are amazing. Massive guy, but he's got a few twinkle toes on him as well. Him and Porter are a great combination. So Furlong to start, Porter off the bench. Then a problem. James Ryan looks like he's not going to recover from his head injury, his concussion. So who partners Henderson? That's the question. Now, the obvious thing would to be pull in Delan possibly. someone a bit more experienced, or move Tadhg Beirne up from back row. However, I don't like that. Certainly the Beirne one. Beirne's been playing so well at back row. I feel like replacing him with Peter O'Mahony is going backwards a bit. And I want to play Baird. Play Baird at second row. Again, he's the future. He's got a great frame on him, loads of physical potential. And if he makes a mistake, so what? The championship isn't on the line. Again, I think they're missing a trick to play him in this, if they don't play him in this big game. But again, I don't think Farrell will. In his selections, he's been pretty safe. He does seem to be quite conservative. Ireland's attack hasn't really evolved as much as I thought it would. They're making fairly, you say, bold decisions from penalties, for example, but their actual play and offloading game isn't as advanced as I thought it would be. I don't know if that's what they're trying to do or not. Comments below. Yeah, back row, like I said, I stay with Beirne. Connors, I think now is the starter at 7. Excellent showing out last time round. And Stander has been incredibly solid. He's just announced he's going to retire from international rugby this summer. So this is the last we're going to see of Stander. Family reasons. Couldn't see if he'd included the Lions in on that one as well. Let me know. But, you know, the end date he was talking about seems to be before the Lions. So is he taking himself out of Lions selection? Let me know if you actually know anything about that. I couldn't find anything. At 9, the go-to man has been Gibson Park. But I think that's a mistake. I think Murray is, if he picks him this week, I mean, Murray's their best 9. Simple as, if he's fully fit, pick your best 9. Have Gibson Park on the bench. Sexton obviously at 10. Has been playing very solid indeed, plus their captain. 12's easy, Henshaw. Ireland's player of this tournament, surely. But then, another big blow, injury blow. Ringrose is out. Who do you bring in? That's a big dilemma. I've gone for Farrell, gone for the big man, run at England's midfield. It's either going to be Slade, a little bit more lightweight, or a new guy. So test him out with a big man, but you could go with a lot of different combinations. You could even move Henshaw out to 12, although I think that would be silly considering how well he's gone there. The wings, another contentious issue. I mean, Earls has been playing really well, so he stays. But surely Lowe has to go now. I didn't select him last week because I thought defensively he wasn't good enough. And in the game last week, we saw those frailties again. So surely he has to go away and work on those. Is it Lama? Is it Stockdale? Well, I think Lama comes in. He's kind of next in line, if you like, fairness. I don't know if that's a good reason or not, but I think he gets the chance. Tempted to start Stockdale, but he's on the bench. Fullback, Keenan stays, absolutely nailed on. Then we've got Herring, Kilcoyne, Porter on the bench, of course. Deland coming in to cover second row. Conan stays, Gibson Park, Burns, and Stockdale. So that would be my team there. Now, finally, Scotland's game against Italy. Not a lot in the championship going on here, really. They're probably going to win, or definitely going to win, to be honest. So what are they playing for? Well, it's pride, but definitely British and Irish Lions places as well. So it's a fairly big game for them in that respect. Big change in the pack for me. I think you bring Skinner in. I think Cummings is injured, so I was probably going to bring Skinner in anyway, so that's a definite. He absolutely won't. I'm pretty sure he won't. He won't play, but he's been playing so well for Exeter. It's absolutely amazing. They need to change something up in the pack, I think. So he's definitely a guy they can bring in who's high quality, and that is proven. Back row, they've got their best back row out in Ritchie, Watson and Fagerson. Absolutely their best one. Price and Russell, half backs for sure. Price is an interesting one. He does make some errors. He does do some good things. Sometimes he looks amazing. Sometimes he can look a bit ordinary. Everyone seems to be on the fence. It's 50-50 when we're talking about line selections for him. I'd love to know your thoughts after this game on him. Russell, been doing some absolutely amazing things. Johnson and Harris, I think, stay as the pairing in the centre. And then Van der Merwe and Graham for me on the wings. I'd have Maitland on the bench. I just think Graham's more exciting, particularly the way Scotland play. He's got to be a must, surely. And then Hogg at fullback, been doing incredibly well. Do we get to see Richie Gray if he's fit? I do hope so. Scott Steele, I have him on the bench covering 9, although I have put here, tongue-in-cheek, that means it's a 6-2 split, because obviously he's a big blindside flanker now. That was genuinely hilarious. And then Hugh Jones, very unlucky not to start. Would you start him in the team? I wouldn't, argue against it if you would, because he looks like to have huge potential, but also what big impact he has off the bench. Although he could do with a start. If he's going to get in that British and Irish Lions squad as a bit of a bolter, he could do with a start. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think of all those teams I've selected and how you think these games will go, and I'll catch you next time.